Good morning, everybody. I wanted to go over how I use a sled on my table saw. Actually, I just set this up this morning to cut knife scales. So here's a pair of knife scales. I've already cut them to make sure it worked. And of course, the problem with this is these are really thin and there's not a good way to hold them safely around a table saw with the conventional tools. So I've built a sled. The sled just goes in your guide rail. I took the actual guide rail apart, used that to attach to the bottom of the sled. It's just a piece of plywood and like a 1x3 and a 1x4 on each end. Needed the height. It's got a slot all the way through it. The height that you want to cut. Sled will go on the table like that. First time you put it together, you just cut through it, make that slot so that it clears the blade when you're normally working. Now the next thing I did is I took a 2x6 and I cut a square edge on it and cut the ends off clean. Deburred them real nice so they stayed clean. Put that on each side of the blade. Then you take your knife scale, put it right in the middle. You can measure or eyeball. Let me pull this over here right quick so you can kind of see. You can measure or eyeball with the notches and just kind of get it centered where you want it. The next thing you need to do is when you start cutting this, there can be a tendency for this part to ride up on the blade. You don't want that to happen. So just real quick, I just made a couple of short sticks. Made them so that I could put on each side to hold the knife scale down. I'm going to just move this apart so I can demonstrate. So you get everything set up. Use my index fingers to hold those down. Hold that like that. Turn the saw blade on and then just cut through. You only have to go to the middle of the blade, bring it back, turn it off, and you're ready to go. So this makes a pretty clean cut. A lot cleaner than you're going to get out of most band saws because you're going to get some walking of that blade. And those knife scales are ready to go. So hope that helped. The reason I put this video together is I was listening to a Knife Talk podcast yesterday, and they were talking about how much people are afraid of table saws, and there's a good reason. The table saw will eat you up, but if you're careful, if you make the proper kind of fixtures, it can be safe. So this is how I'm setting up to cut blocks for knife scales, and I hope it helps you. Thanks.